Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Bring It Dawn. Continue invading people's privacy by reading their souls.
You find anything? Hate to think of those slimy bastards carrying my haul into a freezing hole somewhere.
She grimaces into her drink. Read her soul. In front of you, Yara's swaddled hands work quickly to bundle and tie a parcel. With you are a man and another woman, both similarly occupied. Three of you stand in a small hut. It's nearly bare but for the rickety table before you, and three cheap cots piled with furs. The man hefts his parcel like something rare and precious.
That's the last of them. Check the rest of the supplies while I load these.
He disappears through a door and into a howling gale. The door swings shut with a loud clap.
You sure about the route?
The other woman, Francesca, looks up at you. Her face is mostly covered by a fur hat and several layers of thick-knit kerchiefs, but her voice is clear enough.
Not much choice. Snows have covered most of the other passes. This one gets just enough traffic to stay open.
You feel the answer ring out of your own throat. The thought doesn't bring either of you much comfort. You don't mention the real issue, which is that Lynam's made up his mind. Francesca stares at you for several seconds, apparently thinking the same thing. You can't see her expression clearly enough to tell her whether she's resigned or preparing an argument. She shoves out the door without another word. Yara stands in front of you, distracted with the contents of her mug. She doesn't seem to have noticed your momentary lapse.
You find anything? Hate to...
Sure.
I think that's everybody up here. Well, in this room.
Something I can do for you? Halfrick's got me straightening the rooms, but I'll help you if I can.
Read her soul. Yeah, that's what I thought. You feel for Irina's essence, and almost instantly find yourself wrapped in darkness. It takes you a moment to realize that you've plunged into a very old memory. But as your eyes adjust to the torchlight, you find yourself standing in a gloomy tunnel that you instinctively recognize as part of Durgan's battery. A handful of figures in patchy cloaks and hoods, dwarves like you, hunch over a minecart. They're loading it with cloth-wrapped bundles from which you see the occasional flash of metal, the edge of a blade, or the burnished glow of plate. The other dwarves scurry with curious mixture of haste and caution. They stack the bundles in a din of muted clangs and thumps, following the echoes of their ruckus down the tunnel with nervous eyes.
Pay attention. Sooner we get this done, sooner we can go.
Your voice is a dry whisper, and your nerves tingle with energy. You feel the same apprehension that the others do. Unlike them, you relish it. Still, you look over your shoulder, just in case.
We're hurrying, Captain Gregor. Honest.
One of the men addresses you. When you turn back, the others have redoubled their efforts, and you feel a pleasurable twist in your gut as they fill the cart. Being captain of the guard doesn't pay much, but it does allow you to visit the armory without raising eyebrows. With Coinmaster Zoltan selling off half of the battery's arsenal, he's going to notice a few more missing pieces. Besides, you've got a buyer lined up. As long as you can move these goods out of the battery before someone squeals. As you surface from the memory, you realize that an awakening will be permanent for Alwina. There may be others in town you could awaken instead. You look up to find Alwina staring at you.
Sir? Excuse me, sir. You all right?
Her head is cocked and her brow is furrowed. Farewell. Alright, we can always come back to her. We'll see if we can find someone better to awaken. We'll see what all of our options are before we make the decision.
Hey there. Let me know if you need anything.
Read his soul. The snowy paths peel away, and the brisk air gives way to the acrid stench of smoke. A dark cloud billows up from the remnants of a burning house, the far edge of a rocky field. You're low to the ground, held in place, and above you the wind tugs embers back and forth like firebugs.
Not so brave now, are you?
The vision in your left eye is clouded. such that the figure standing over you is a collection of rough smears of black, cast in silhouette by the fire. A dark shape swings towards your face. The subsequent burst of agony jars you out of the memory, and back into your own skin.
What? Did I spill something on myself?
Rayfall looks down at his clothing. Alright, so we can't read his soul. I suspect this dwarf is going to be another option for the awakening.
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what it was.
Read her soul. You feel her essence humming and buzzing. Another personality instead of memories lies dormant within her soul, convulsing as if in fitful sleep. The contours of that dormant soul are sharp, ragged. As you reach out for it, it seizes you violently. You're standing in a darkened feast hall. Sturdy tables and benches have been stacked against the door in the far end of the room. You know it won't be enough. A few dozen other dwarves from your tunneling crew wait with you, shovels and pickaxes in their shaking hands.
Sinove, please. If we go now, we can get behind the barricade. We won't do any good here.
One man turns to you. He's right. You hear agreement in the quiet murmur of the others. But Arms Warden Maroon order you to hold your ground here. Yet in those rising whispers, you hear the opening bars of mutiny. You never tolerated insubordination from your crew, and you aren't about to start. So, you heft your pickaxe and swing it to the man's skull. He collapses, the others fall silent. The acrid odor of urine rises from his body.
We're gonna go down fighting. Anyone who feels differently can settle it with me right now.
Your voice is hoarse from hours of shouting orders, but no one else moves. They cast their eyes down in the flickering torchlight. Something thuds against the door. The others raise their weapons, picks, shovels, and a few swords, but they don't dare flinch. Your own pulse pounds at your temples. You pull back from Tyana's soul. He feels Zenove's wrath and ferocity tugging at you still. Her essence thrashes, lashing out at an unseen enemy. Zenove is powerful, but dangerous too. Her fury has anchored her to old and threatening memories. Tana, however, seems unaware of any of this. She blinks back at you with cloudy, placid eyes. Let's check in with the mayor. Maybe she has a calmer soul. I think it's going to make us choose between the lesser of evils.
Something else you need?
Read his soul. You reach for Uldric's essence, and find yourself staring at a fence post lying in a filthy slush of frozen mud. Snow gathers around your legs and trickles into your boots. A wind nips at you even through layers of fur. You hold a wood chisel in one numb hand, and a mallet in the other. Kneeling over the fence post, you get to work. Hour after hour, you hammer away, feeling the tools grow heavy in your grip as your breath fogs your vision. You want to do better work than this. You can do better work than this. But no one's building new houses in Stalwart. The last table you crafted was put to the fishery, into the fishery, and pike entrails now trace the fine dovetail joints you so lovingly carved. Now you mend the stockade, because that's what's needed. The chisel slips, skidding along your hand. You gasp. You hold up your hand and see, much to your relief, all 5 fingers wiggling back at you. You need to get out of this town. You pull back from Uldric's soul. He's still staring into the fire, seemingly lost in his own memories too.
I take it you've met Galvino.
Renengild glances at the Devil of Karak, her eyes narrowing. Sorry, it's pronounced Carrick. I think Karak sounds a little better. I examine Renengild's soul. That's unique. It doesn't say his or her, it says Renengild. Your awareness settles beneath Renengild's skin. You feel yourself looking through her eyes, upon a time-faded memory. You're standing in the inn. The room is stifling, but it's the body heat of so many furious villagers, not the neglected fire pit that's drawn sweat from your pores. Your husband waits by the door, about as far as he can get from the assembly. He holds Uldric, whose cheeks are bright as he watches the adults bicker with wide, fearful eyes. You never realized how badly your neighbors stink, but something rank and repulsive rises from them as they pack together in this room.
How much did the old snake pay you, Sina Hiod?
It's Grinday, or Green Day. I'm gonna say Grinday, not Green Day, sounds too much like the band. The head fisherman, jabbing a furious finger toward the back of the room. Sina Hiod, your erstwhile mayor, squirms in a corner, pinned by the accusing stares of the entire village. Oh, those eyes. Their cruel, porcine eyes, then watching Sina Hiod with a dumb gluttony of hogs staring at fodder. The only sight that turns your stomach more is Sina Hiod himself, trying to wriggle free of his own lies.
Maestro Galvino and I came to an agreement. It was for the good of Stalwart. I thought...
A lump bobs in his throat.
You thought you'd let a killer walk among us?
A woman in the middle of the crowd waves her fist. Cries of fierce agreement rise from the others. What began as a collective grumbling is swelling and congealing like storm clouds. You look back at your husband. He's whispering to Uldric. When you catch his eye, he directs a silent supplication to you.
Let's go.
A wet smack draws your attention back to the other end of the room. Someone's thrown a potato. Sina Hiod cringes and rubs his jaw. You want to shout at them for all this nonsense and waste, but you know this is about to get worse. Stalwart will have blood, and Galvino and his horror had the sense to flee already. You turn again. Your husband is beckoning you with swift, chopping motions. What stops your breath is Uldric. His little eyes are fixed on the churning mob, and you knew ever since you started hearing about those hideous purges that he'd see something like this one day. But did it have to be so soon? It's what drove that devil woman to madness. Now his little eyes have gotten big enough to swallow the whole scene. Now he's seeing you as part of it. As a part of it. You want to leave now, but if you do, this is what your boy will remember. Cowardice and madness. About people, about Stalwart, about you. The people around you jostle and bark in their rage. They're dangerous animals, but animals nonetheless. They just need to be led. So you push your way to the end of the room, where Sina Hiod trembles in a puddle of his own piss.
Enough!
Your voice boils up from your throat. The others fall silent, watching you. They listen, dumbly trusting, as you turn Sina Hiod's death sentence into an exile. No one contradicts you when you explain that he's going to march out of this village alone, and to whatever miserable hamlet will have him. They silently agree when you explain that their hands are too clean for the likes of him. But there's something else forming behind their eyes. A kernel of trust and dependence. You feel it curdling around you, encasing you like a pearl does sand. You only wanted to spare Sina Hiod's life, not volunteer for his job, but you see so much fear simmering just beneath their expressions. Spirit godmen marching through the mountains, at their woodens and their purges, and dying the slow and lonely death of a ghost town. And you see their grateful reassurance mirrored in Uldric's expression. Perhaps this place is hopeless. You realize that you can't leave it any more than you could leave your boy. The only person who isn't looking at you is your husband. He's shaking his head, his eyes on the door. You retreat from Redingild's memory. Vivid though it is, has nothing to do with Durgan's battery.
What's on your mind?
Your mind is. Or I guess your soul's mind. Oh, it is nighttime. Let's go ahead and go by the fishery, because we have that one quest there.
Me and Sledge are thinking about heading down, joining a caravan over to Dawning.
Dawning? What for? You like your ogres bigger?
We'd have work at least, and I'm damn sick of fish.
Not a sound.
Arta's bracelet. This bracelet is comprised of many small interwoven beads that's held together by a fine silver clasp. Together, the beads form a stylized image of mountain peaks. You reach into the barrel and find a bracelet. A thick aura of essence clings to it, fresh with memory. You feel yourself drawn into it. In the memory, you stride into the fishery. The floors are swept clean, but the wood is still splotched with snowmelt and fish guts. A man hunkers in the corner, his head nodding forward as if in sleep. He looks up drowsily as you approach. It's Grinda. His face is youthful but sallow. His hair hangs in stringy locks. You feel a pang of anger and pity at your brother's debauchery.
Arda.
His voice is little more than a croak.
It's past midnight.
Your throat feels tight. Grinda wipes at his nose and examines the mingled blood and powder on the back of his hand. He shrugs. Your fingers clench around coarse, thick fabric. Your father's best wool cloak tucked under your arm.
Go! To raid Ceres, or Defiance Bay, or fucking Air Glonfoth, I don't care!
You hurl it at the ingrate huddled on the floor. He picks up the cloak and looks at it with the same sort of dull wonder. He wipes his nose on the lining. A sudden rush of fury leaves your limbs weak and raw.
I'll tell them. Mayor Cena healed. The neighbors. Everyone.
You force the words through your teeth.
About what?
He mumbles, churning his words from a morass of snot and saliva.
The stealing. You think I haven't noticed the money missing from the fishery coffers? Or heard Tana talk about losing a golden duke?
You whisper, afraid even now that someone will overhear you, and the words scorch your throat.
You can't be found when there's work to do, but every time those merchant wagons roll into town, you've got coin enough for a few bags of ripple sponge.
No, it's not.
Grinda blinks back at you. He rubs his red-rimmed eyes. Your own grow warm and blurry.
Stalwart tolerates your sponge habit, but they won't abide your thieving.
You touch your bracelet, a gift from Mother, plucking at the beads.
You won't.
He rises, steadier on his feet than you would have thought.
I will.
You stride toward him. I wouldn't have shamed Mother and Father while they was living. Don't let this keep up. Your anger swallows the last of your pity. Anger at him for putting you in this position, for doubting your resolve, for failing to see. You're close enough to smell his stale, sour breath when he pushes you. You fall, watching his widening eyes and the ceiling spinning into your vision. Isn't this just like him? Grinda with his full tantrums, never thinking of anybody but himself. And now you're going to be nursing a headache for a week, just goes to show you can't help some people. You remember him to your baby brother, running through the snow, slipping, falling on ice, and you're slipping, falling. There's a table behind you, but it shouldn't. It's a nice touch, like the sentences, all the words started like getting jumbled together. The memory ends abruptly, jolting you back into the present, with your heart hammering and your palms sweating. The fishery door creaks open, and in walks Grinda, staring at you, and the bracelet, in surprise and outrage. His face drains of color.
You take shelter in our village and then ransack it like a common thief? You'd better explain yourself!
His voice shakes, as do his wide, squared shoulders. Galvino told me you're a ripple sponge addict. Seems you're much more than that.
Any who'd put stock in the ravings of that bitter old fool deserve all the trouble they get.
His face flushes crimson. He raises his voice, half turning to the guard with him. You killed your sister, Arda, right here in this room. He opens his mouth to reply, but the words catch in his throat. The guard next to him stares at the bracelet, recognition turning to horror.
Worth coming back for this alone.
It was an accident. I was a failure and a wretch then, but I never would have killed anyone. Least of all my own kin.
He turns his gaze down, offering his apology to his own clenched fists. Say nothing. Listen.
I gave her body to the lake. but I kept her bracelet. To remember the cost of my own weakness.
He loosens his hands and stares at the emptiness in his leathery palms.
I ain't asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve any. My penance is my work on behalf of the village. And they need it, truly. You ain't exactly one to get invested in other people's problems. Turn me in. Let me go. What's it matter to you?
When you have a group of guard behind you that just heard your confession.
Let me do the work Arda would have done. That's my debt to Stalwart, and the only fitting way to honor my sister.
He looks up at you, his eyes bright and clear. It's not for you to decide. You owe it to Arda and to Stalwart to tell the truth about her death.
Kept thinking I could get by this way, but I guess you're right. It's time they knew the truth about me.
He sighs heavily. He turns to leave, looking back at the fishery one last time. It didn't sound like that was going to go the way that Galvino wanted it to.
It ever occur to you that maybe those dukes sent you here to screw things up?
It takes a paranoid mind to dream up a scenario where that makes any sense.
Hate to piss on your daisies, but them dukes will sell you out when it suits them.
My life is theirs. I don't question how it will end, so long as it ends in service to the Republics.
I hope you've had some luck.
So we've missed some opportunities to read souls, I think. Like the 10 Andra priests. Or 10 gift bearers. That would have been, I guess you could have discovered the truth without going to the quest. At least it would have hinted at it. Oops.
Right.
Welcome. Have a seat by the fire if the cold's gotten into your bones.
Read his soul. Their soul is a vibrant, stolid thing. Stolid? Stolid? And as you reach out for it with your senses, you see your breath begin to fog in the air. You find yourself far above the ground, wedged into the juncture of two branches. Moonlight is bright upon the snow, and in the distance your quarry steps out onto the ice, as if onto an illuminated stage. You still your breath and draw back your arrow. Warmth bleeds back into your limbs, frost and snow giving way to the smoky interior of Thirsk's home.
Welcome.
Huh?
So I think that's our only two options. I'm gonna go with Tana, I think.
Huh?
She's older.
Sure.
She lives by herself in this cabin. And Zenove, while they described his soul as wrathful and full of fury, or however described it, seemed more authoritative than angry. Well, we'll see.
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what it was.
I don't think there's... I think they help me. Okay. I don't think I missed anybody. I think through everybody else, because I didn't see Okrun. I think he wandered off.
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what it was.
Awaken Zenove. Remember your battle in the feast hall. A tremor passes through Tana's face, then her rumpled skin goes slack. After a racking cough, she blinks like someone slowly coming to consciousness.
That name. It carries memories of death, war, fury, the taste of blood. What do you want with it?
Her eyes have grown unusually clear. This one's far stronger, but devour her from within. Replace weakness with strength. Durrance glances at her and lowers his voice. But it may not be to your benefit. I need to enter Durgan's battery.
What trickery is this, stranger? You think a Pargrin would so easily betray her own people?
Her hands clench and unclench around an imaginary weapon. Zenove's essence stirs with the same battle-ready furor you sense in her memory from Durgan's battery. She is dangerous. Beneath Zenove, and his overwhelmed consciousness struggles. The last of your people disappeared hundreds of years ago. There's nothing left to betray. Zenove's rage is a heavy fog that clots and thickens, choking Tana's fading consciousness. Zenove herself is overwhelmed, as she forces Tana's eyes into narrow slits.
Lies! Arms Warden Maroon will see you cast into the White Forge!
Don't want to be deceptive. You're mistaken. Calm down.
You'd rob us of our steel and leave us bleeding.
She doubles over, coughing and convulsing. Zenove at last overwhelms Tana, screaming through the old woman's mouth. In that instant, Zenove's psyche expands, filling you with a lifetime's worth of memories and experiences, including a set of verses that you know to be the cantec of Durgan's battery.
Hammers of Durgan, ring loud. May the anvil's deep music resound. Walls of the battery, safeguard our works from marauder and wilder alike. Abidun's faithful travail by the forge and the fires that brighten the ore.
It's too much for Tana's dying consciousness. It shrivels and vanishes as Zenove, now in full control of Tana's body, attacks. Oh, I didn't want this to happen. I'm sorry. I think no matter what choice I made, though, there's going to be a cost associated with it.
Lead the way.
Yeah.
Our request for the Devil of Karak to the west, so we'll take care of that next. Yeah, they said it was to the west. Check my quest log real quick.
That was way too much Blackson.
Be the hunter's camp.
Sure.
Oh, Woodcutter's Grove. That makes more sense. They also said that if you found the frozen rivers, you went too far north, so...
Right.
Alright, so if we attack Harmka, I'm sure we have to kill all the woodcutters. See how this plays out. Next time. I call the episode here. In the next one, we will deal with the Devil Krok's quest. I will return to Galvino and turn in his quest regarding Grinda. Where's that quest at? Maybe we completed it when we did what we did. I was actually paying attention to the notifications. By the way, I'm going to call it here for now. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.